Oh yes, you already know. This is a meaty video, but nevertheless I feel immensely worthwhile. Now the crests. Not been explained whatsoever in the show, that isn't a problem, for reasons we're about to go over. I think the running theme to keep in mind whilst watching this video is actions speak louder than words, or pointless exposition.
What's that?
And essentially, a lot of what you guys have told me in the comments I think aligns with this video, which is why I wanted to make it, because I feel like it tightly knits together things that we've already gathered from the narrative, from what we've been shown from the reboot, and more importantly, the relation between the crests and the mega evolutions. There's a lot to get through, so I'm going to try and be very clear about it.
Let me be clear.
I want to be completely transparent and make sure you guys understand what I'm saying and the points that I'm making in this. But you know, ever since War Greymon's debut, Metal Garumon's debut, I've been slowly getting impressions and understanding from you guys, and I think this video captures that more broadly held opinion quite well. So everybody, I hope you enjoy the video. So this video essentially was inevitable. At some point it was going to come around, but I think we have enough information to understand the mega evolutions in the crests, all because of last week's episode, Metal Garumon's debut. For those who aren't up to date, Metal Garurumon was achieved in an unorthodox way, and it wasn't as action-packed, and wasn't as immensely thrilling as people would have liked it to be. Probably because War Greymon's episode set the baseline for everybody else, which is besides the point. It didn't meet expectations. I, like many of you, were surprised / disappointed. So trying to understand better, I went back and watched episode 29, episode 30, episode 38, and episode 45, in tandem. But now we have another mega evolution that isn't Taichi's.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
I realised something. Metal Garumon's debut, whilst not always the prettiest, was satisfactory in the sense that the roles the Digestin have to play in the digital world became more evident in the narrative as time went on, especially from last week. It hasn't been directly shown as to why each child has a certain crest at this point. Instead of just vomiting out an episode in exposition, the reboot allows the actions to do the talking and drip feeds us the information, for example in episodes 30 and 45. Further, it shows why each mega evolution from both Taichi and Matt were both perfectly apt in their own respective ways. It's not the same mega evolution, so it shouldn't happen the same way. Because naturally, different crests, friendship and courage, begets different reasons to act. Each of the crests represent virtues. Each of the Digidestined are essentially ambassadors of said virtues. Either in actuality, like Taichi, who was always courageous, or in potentiality, like Matt, who didn't always have faith in friendships. So what do the crests have to do with the megas? Well, people say that episode 45 should have been sort of episode 38, the Battle of Mephismon, because Mephismon could have hypothetically been Gulfmon, a mega level Digimon, much like Metal Garurumon, and there you have the big scrap you lusted for. But where does that leave the crests? Sure, acknowledging Gabumon as a real friend is absolutely integral to the initial development, but is making a single friend the most ultimate form of friendship? The situation with Markon was far more important in terms of fully realizing the crest of friendship. I'll explain why. Matt, as the ambassador of the crest of friendship, exercises his virtue best once it's spread throughout the digital world. Otherwise, what good is it having just Gabumon as his only friend? Having one friend, you can't be the embodiment of friendship and not want to be friends with everybody. This is why we have situations like Macmon, because it's a direct demonstration of Matt taking this crest of friendship and sharing its influence throughout the digital world. Macmon is one of these many examples. But why was Metal Garurumon needed? Well, the truth is Metal Garurumon was more or less a byproduct / consequence of Matt and Gabumon fully realising the crest of friendship in its most ultimate form, saving a friend / potential friend from their own misery, loneliness, and from them taking their own life. People complain about Parasimon, but Parasimon was never the threat. Parasimon was never the stakes. Mega Digimon, yes, but when has a mega villain ever been an issue for these Digidestined megas? The real stakes was Macmon's valuation on his own life and whether he would actually succeed in his more distorted goal. In Matt's exposition to Macmon on the value of friendship, that fateful tunnel scene, this is the exact moment where the virtue of friendship was fully realised and thus Metal Garurumon was accessible. Not that Metal Garurumon was needed for power, it happened because it was a symbol of driving home the point and the principle that Matt and Gabumon are there for. Whereas in episode 38, Metal Garurumon wasn't accessible against Mephismon because the crest of friendship couldn't be fully realised. Matt only just really opened up to the idea of friendship and was honest himself about it. That's the initial breakthrough. It's not the be-all and end-all. It's essentially for his own self-benefit. In episode 45, he puts principle into practice for the sake of somebody else, and thus Metal Garurumon is that reward. The power-up is conditional in understanding the crest of friendship, or courage, and it's fully realised by bringing it into the digital world, having an effect on the world that they're in? What is the most ultimate form of friendship that earns the entitlement to Mega Evolve? Saving a lonely person, a potential friend, from themselves, from taking their own life, for no benefit to Matt or Gabumon, purely for the benefit of Macmon itself. And that's why it was rewarded. Not because Paracion was strong and had to beat it. That wasn't the motivating factor, let that be known. If we have established that the ultimate action of each relative crest attains the Mega level, then that fully explains why Grumon didn't fully Mega Evolve in episode 38. Fighting a Mega every time isn't what earns a Mega Evolution, that's just a desire for power. If that was the case, then Matt and Taichi would have gotten their Megas in episode 3, against Argomon, instead of Omegamon. Moreover, just washing every single Mega villain that they face after evolving isn't exciting either, and it's predictable. We watched Greymon do it 3 times in a row, no difficulty. We already know what the outcome's going to be. No matter what Mega level villain they substitute in, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't say anything about the Crests, or the characters themselves. Rather, having a Mega Evolution relative to the Crests that each child bears explains 3 things at once. 1, what the Crests are through action. 2, what the Crests essentially do. And 3, how the Mega level is unlocked in the first place. Take episode 30 for example. Greymon happened because Big Bad Crossman was too strong, right? Of course not. Otherwise, we'd have had Greymon episode 24, when Don Devimon was attacking. We would have had Greymon before Taichi and Metal Greymon were even defeated by Crossmon in the first place, if we use that string of reasoning. So what's the difference then? Taichi and Metal Greymon need the power and they get it, then they Mega Evolve, right? Well, the difference being, only after their defeat to Crossmon the first time, at their weakest point, they stepped up to the plate to fight a Digimon they know they can't defeat, but they do it anyway to buy time for the Woodland Digimon to escape. In the face of pain, and even after taking their first major loss, it's the courage that makes them run back into the fray. This is why Taichi and Agumon's comeback was so heavily emphasized throughout episode 30, and we only got Greymon at the very end of the episode, because Greymon wasn't what mattered the most. It was fully realizing the crest of courage, Taichi losing and understanding what they have to do. That's why the comeback and building back up to the fight was so zoomed in on. And it's only because that virtue was exercised to the maximum by both Taichi and Agumon is what makes Greymon possible in the first place. Not for the need of more power, and not just because it was a Mega villain. And this is actually a lot like when both Matt and Gabumon were consolidating Macmon in that tunnel scene episode 45. We have all the information and every reason to think the following. The Crests, fully realised, are the perfect manifestations of the particular virtues each child has demonstrated to the utmost of their ability, and they are simultaneously conscientious of that fact, like Taichi after his loss, Matt in the tunnel. These perfect manifestations are achieved through principle in action, and fully believing in these principles. And therefore, because the essential purposes of each crest is being complete, that unlocks a greater power to fight the force of darkness. To say that we need these Mega versus Megas doesn't completely capture why the children were chosen in the first place, or why they're even the heroes of the digital world, not just of themselves. We need to remind ourselves who the chosen ones are fighting for. And it's only when we understand that, we better appreciate why Metal Garurumon and Greymon were fully earned respectively, and by induction we understand the Crests, their role and how they work. So guys, that draws us close to the general point of the video, and if this point is correct, then we can expect to see, with the other Mega Evolutions, different actions that perfectly embody the representation of each crest, for each of the Digidestin. It's a lot to take in, but I really think this is a neat, entirety interpretation of the crests in the reboot, and while we don't really need all this exposition to explain them, it's already really explained. But let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I'm open to all kinds of interpretation, although I know a lot of you will resonate with this. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment and subscribe. I really appreciate your time, and take care.